Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm on the road. It's 1:19 in the PM. Videos that have been sparking a lot of controversy. Well, we have the first video involving a Las Vegas-based law enforcement agency where the homeowner or resident calls police. He's taken hostage, and then the police officer or officers on scene ended up unaliving the person that called on them. It was a hostage shot to take. At the point in time, I understand how it could have been confusing on who is who. Even though that there's some relevant information that's being patched through the radio. I don't want to talk too much about that one because lately the infant and the mother unaliving incident kind of bothers me the most. And guys, I have to use some of these words. I can't use the K word or S word on YouTube because I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm using the word unalive. What you basically have is somebody called regarding some type of disturbance. On video camera, on body cam, you have the mom talking to police, and she's allowed to move around freely in the house while holding the infant, or holding the child. I've seen this happen so many times where you go to a domestic violence scene, where the police go to a domestic violence scene, and then you have a parent who has not yet been accused of committing any crime. You're just there to keep the peace, right? And all of a sudden, they're walking around with holding a child or infant, and they're kind of holding that infant as a human shield. I had several circumstances where we had to negotiate with the parent. Like, hey, can you let me hold on to your child for a little bit? And nothing came close to what I seen on body camera, but there's always that issue of, number one, is there a crime? And number two, do we follow around this person in their own house? And then at what point are they legally detained, right? Because if the police had it their way, well, then everybody at every single call or incident would be detained. Well, obviously, you need reasonable cause to make an actual legal detention. You need probable cause to make an arrest. Excuse me. At one point in time, this lady enters. Hold on real quick. She enters a bedroom where this other male half is there. Maybe that's the husband or the person that called. I don't know. But you do have this individual that is entering the room, right? And looks like they give her some kind of command, and then all of a sudden this lady produces a freaking huge kitchen knife, and she comes after the officers. The officers discharged rounds, and the infant and the mother is both struck. Where did we go wrong on this? Well, I think a lot of ways. I want to talk to, I don't know where we're going to go with this, but I want to talk to you guys about the reality of police training, especially California. Law enforcement officers are terrible shots. And that might not be, that might be something that's very relatable to my subscribers. But I see it all the time. They're not the best shots. Just because they have a gun and badge, that doesn't make them pistol experts or rifle experts. I think anybody that is in law enforcement or that has been reviewing them, for them to say that they're great shots, I think that they're lying to themselves. I put up a course of fire for the Red Dot Transition course. We had 20% of our students fail the class. I refuse to give a certificate of completion to students who hit the hostage target. If you hit the hostage target, even by the hair strand, you nick them on the face, that's an automatic fail. And 20% of the class went home without a certificate. Obviously, the higher-ups are not very happy with the outcome. They're not happy with the trainer because the trainer just used up 8 hours of overtime per officer that did not make the class. But as an instructor, somebody who's currently practicing law enforcement, who's in the field, I think that we are doing ourselves a disservice when we pass students that shouldn't be passing. And I think that's what happened there. Now you might want to say, or you might be saying, hey, these are lower skilled officers that you're training, or that law enforcement officers trained. No, I've trained, including members of SWAT teams, right? And I ran them through a high stress scenario of hostage rescue. And again, the targets are just paper. They obviously don't move. The only thing that moves is the operator running and gunning, so to speak, through the course. And hey, what's up, Mike from the Professional Security Journal? I don't read Arabic. I'm sorry. I don't know what this means. But you hopefully you have a nice day. Sorry guys. Yeah, I don't understand Arabic. It makes no sense. I'm putting different languages on here. Oh my goodness, just lost my train of thought a little bit. Okay, like I was saying, so going back to more highly skilled officers, right, that I was trained not too long ago, the only thing that was moving, it wasn't the target, it was the actual operator. It was the actual shooters who are supposed to be more experienced than your average patrol officer, yet the targets downrange didn't lie. The targets downrange, which were hostage targets, had Trump shot ears, and they also had shots right in the middle of the face. So what happens in real life situations? I'm sorry. Yeah, well, what happens on the range? What ends up happening is the officers are too quick to make judgments. They're not trying to gather as much information from the target as possible, and they are being hostage focused. So instead of looking at the actual target that they're supposed to be shooting, they look at the hostage, and where your eyes go, where your vision goes, the barrel tends to follow inadvertently. I never driven a motorcycle, but what I'm told is wherever you want to go on a motorcycle is where you ought to be looking. Like, when you're making a turn, don't look away from the turn or you're going to eat the turn. And I think it goes the same thing with kind of like a bicycle. If you're going down a hill, you're looking to where you want to go. And the same can be applied to shooting. I want to go here, or I want to hit here. I'm going to look here. So I think that's what possibly happening. I'm not excusing the actions of no officers at all. I'm just trying to rationalize, like, what the heck is going on? And the question to you guys watching this in private security, corrections, or law enforcement, what are you doing to not make these types of mistakes? Because I know that there's a lot of Monday night quarterbackers out there that are asking themselves, or actually that are lying to themselves and saying, oh, I would never do something like that. Well, you don't know what you don't know. And how does the public know that you're not going to make the same crazy mistake? Based on what? Based on your mandatory range qualifications every quarter, where there's no hostage targets? Like, based on actually what? Even with, so I just started where I work at a sniper squad, right? Basically, these guys would be DMRs, designated marksmen. They're not SWAT. They're basically designated marksmen. They're able to get a shot on target easily at 100 yards. And if something was pressed on them far enough, a 300 shot would be very negotiable. It'd be something that is very doable. We did qualifications. And what ended up happening is, again, you get some of the guys on the team smacking the bystander or hostage right in the face with a precision rifle, with a scope rifle. That's obviously not acceptable. And what's happening? Again, they're seeing where they're going to hit. They keep looking at the hostage. So what I did, because when I ran the course, I lead by example, right? My shot was, it was too low, and it was off the suspect's face, right? But I made sure that I did not look at the hostage, right? I just kept looking at the hostage, and I think I was like lower to the left or the right, but I missed one. I got most of my shots in, but I did miss one, and that shot, it was off of the suspect, right? It was not near the hostage. And that's what I emphasize is shoot what you want to see. And that's what I did, and I was not able to hit the hostage, or I didn't hit the hostage. We ran it again, and I think we ran it the third time, and we had to temporarily remove somebody from our team because of failure to qualify. And that's just at 100 yards. I hate to do that, but it's the standard. I owe a duty to the public to hold standards. And I think any law enforcement officer that's in charge of training has a duty of care to the public, whether that be on a call for service or at a flat range. They have a duty to train their officers appropriately. They have a duty to not qualify people that shouldn't be qualified. It's perfectly okay for a police ranger master to send an officer home because they didn't qualify. Now, where it becomes a gray area is what happens if a sergeant or somebody higher ranking than you doesn't qualify. With me, I don't care. I think the most noble thing to do as a fireman instructor is to get fired from the range because you try to hold standards on somebody that's higher ranking member of a law enforcement agency than you, or somebody that's more influential than you. I think that's the greatest honor bestowed on a fireman instructor, is the ability to do that. I've been contemplating other techniques. How about we start in hostage situations? How about we start nailing the suspect in the leg, maybe the femoral artery? And I thought about that for a while. I know a lot of people are saying, Sean, in the leg, that's like, we're not trained to shoot people in the legs. Well, where does it say that you can't, right? Now, I think the popular opinion out there is we don't shoot people in the legs. Oh my goodness, I need to be careful what I'm saying because of YouTube Live. We need to hit people center mass, right over here, because that's how we're trained, and that leads to that person usually stopping the threat. If you end up getting them in the leg, they may not stop the threat. I'm sorry, they may not stop being a threat, or you're going to miss because the area is too small. I get it. I understand it. So I try to pressure that. I try to pressure test that technique under, or was it force on force? It was a force on force situation, hostage situation, Sims, and I aimed for the leg. And guess what happened? I missed that opportunity, right? The leg is a little bit smaller than center mass. So that's what happened, right? This is something I want to explore a little bit more. What if we start training officers to start aiming for the area of greatest opportunity? So whether the hostage taker is able to adequately cover his face with the victim or the bystander or the lethal areas, and the best area to hit, the best opportunity, just happens to be the upper thigh, femoral artery area. If I go for that area, I hit that area, do I mitigate the chance of nailing a lethal hit on the victim? I think that there's a little bit more room for error if you miss, right? If you miss, you might end up hitting the bottom legs, torso of the victim or witness or bystander instead of hitting them right in the face. But again, that's not my solid option, and see where we go from there. Sorry guys, looks like we got disconnected. I'm not advocating, I'm going to repeat this, I'm not advocating for shooting in the leg. I am just opening up the discussion on whether this is acceptable target if you consider that the suspect might be covering his face well or concealing his face well and vital areas. And that's the only opportunity, that's the only window of opportunity you have, is that area. Do you go for that upper thigh area, or do you wait until the opportunity presents itself where you get a better face shot? But I'll tell you right now, the face shot, the head shots, they're not working out on body camera. Now, does this anecdotal evidence, does it serve as a prerequisite to changing around the training standards out there? No, it's anecdotal evidence. There's just 2 incidents that I know of right now where I could just flip on YouTube or social media and I see those incidents present. So that's all I got. Don't get all crazy in the comments. I just want you guys to think about that logic. Just understand that law enforcement officers are lousy shots. They took away a lot of law enforcement money. A lot of that money went to active shooter courses where officers learned to act under stress. That was the level 1. So California Peace Officer Standards Training Post, they reimburse law enforcement agencies for certain types of training. Active shooter training, which is typically a 1 to 2 day class for law enforcement, that class was post reimbursable level 1, which basically meant that backfill, meaning an overtime slot, another officer filling in for another officer on overtime, that position would be paid for by post. Mileage one way, another way back. The meals will be paid. The lodging will be paid, most of it, depending on where you lodge. Now, Post reallocated, under the direction of the leadership of the state of California, Post reallocated that funds and put them into racial bias inclusive courses out there, cultural competency courses. All that money went to those courses. There's very minimal funding for the tactical courses now. So that's all I got. I'm looking forward to dialogue with you guys. Take care.